Worthen. Catherine Ladnier has spoken to us at the Relic Room twice before. The first time was in February 2022 when she spoke about letters her father received during the Second World War. Her fascination with what she learned from those treasures, which were found among her late mother's effects, has led to many other projects. And they led to her being approached by Bob Rosencrantz. Bob was a very interesting man, and Catherine will tell you more about him. But she's mainly here to talk about what Bob gave her, his brother Herb's letters. Herb was quite an extraordinary young man, too. The letters he wrote home to his parents during the Second World War demonstrate that. By listening to Catherine, I expect you will come to agree and to mourn him. Catherine's program is called Tribute to a Jewish Soldier. Please join me in welcoming Catherine Ladnier.
I want to thank you all for inviting me back to my ancestral state. I always like to say that I live in Connecticut, but you don't have to worry, I am not a Yankee. Though probably everybody in this room is a Yankee, right? As Brad said, my mother was a multi-generational South Carolinian. She died Mother's Day 2001 in a nursing home very close to the farmhouse in which she was born. My mother was Southern to the core, or as she would say, I am a South Carolinian. And she claimed that as her citizenship. She threw nothing away, and as Brad said, I inherited all these letters. I read every letter, I read every postcard, and I was so touched by the beauty of the language and what these folks had gone through. And I thought, this needs an audience bigger than one person. So I started doing programs. One day, going through my mother's things, I found a poppy on a lapel piece of paper, and someone had written, "Have you ever seen this on a Jewish boy?" I have no idea who sent this to my mother. I do know he knew nothing about Jewish boys and the military, and he knew nothing about my mother. Jews came to South Carolina around 1680. They were free to worship, to own land. And Jewish men have served in every war in which the United States has been involved, including the Revolutionary War. One of those soldiers was Samuel Greenfield Barr, my sixth great-grandfather, who served in the South Carolina 4th Continental Army. I would also add that I inherited the 1797 Constitution of the Presbyterian Church, which belonged to Samuel Greenfield Barr, and my mother was not around in 1794. Jewish men have served in every war in which the U.S. is involved. During World War II, more than 550,000 Jewish boys served this country. Jews served in higher numbers than their overall population during World War II. And that number included 19 generals and 3 admirals. Let us now honor one of those Jewish boys. His name was Herb Rosencrantz. And Herb came into my life through pure serendipity. His younger brother, who was also a Jewish boy in uniform, read about my project, contacted me, and I met him. Bob didn't know me from Adam, or should I say, he didn't know me from Eva, but he entrusted Herb's letters to dear Mom and Dad to me. And it was an extraordinary journey with Herb. Herb was the firstborn son of Jews, Eva and Alvin, Austria and Russia, who came through Ellis Island as babies. They grew up on the Lower East Side of New York, and Eva often called it Jewish heaven. And if anybody's been to the Lower East Side Tenement Museum, it's quite a treat. Eva would write about going home and opening the door, and the table would be laden with nuts and pies. Eva and Alvin were married and raised a family. Herb was their firstborn American son. Herb worked very hard supporting the family. And Eva fulfilled her childhood dream. She became a dressmaker. She became a very famous dressmaker. If you ever see a picture of Mamie Eisenhower in her inaugural gown, that is a creation of Eva Rosencrantz. In 1941, Herb left home to attend the University of Michigan, but Mom and Dad were never far away. October the 17th, 1941, Hillsdale House, Ann Arbor, Michigan. Dear Mom and Dad, well, things have been very quiet lately, so I have very little to write about. My social life has not been at all hurt by not joining a fraternity. As a matter of fact, I am now going out with the prettiest Jewish girl on campus. She is a pretty blonde from Buffalo, with blue eyes and all. You're a college Joe. Dear Dad, wishing you a very happy birthday. Since it's unpatriotic to buy anything now, I will send you a receipt for a strictly stag beer bus next time I'm home. Drinks on me, Herb. Herb did join a fraternity, the Zeta Beta Tau, a Jewish fraternity, the oldest Jewish fraternity in the country. Dear Mom and Dad, yesterday I was appointed to the executive board of the Manpower Corps. I have to locate all labor shortages in Ann Arbor and try to fill these jobs with students. Tonight, a dispatch came through that the Air Corps reserves up here are being called to active duty within a few days. Dear Mom and Dad, I'm terrifically busy right now. With exams coming, manpower work, and getting the Army straightened out, I haven't had too much time. I register on Thursday. I'm going to a victory ball with Betty on Friday night. Another fellow in our house has been drafted and he's leaving on Friday. Love her. Another Jewish boy joins the ranks of the Americans during World War II, December the 3rd, 1941. Dear Mom and Dad, things are buzzing here for me. I have been appointed to some very important duties in the house. Oh, my roommate decided to leave school to join the Merchant Marine. Some other fellows are leaving soon to join the Signal Corps. They are calling up the reserves at the end of the semester. More Jewish boys are leaving Zeta Beta Tau to serve their country, and Herb Rosencrantz would enlist. Herb enlisted in the Army Reserve Corps, and he is just a freshman at the University of Michigan. By March 1942, Herb is in the Army. First stop, Scott Field, Illinois. Dear Mom and Dad, I've gone through the first week of training. I should have written sooner, but this Army life has been keeping me busy. I just got out a 4-day stretch of KP, washing dishes from 5:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. I haven't seen a woman now in about a week, and believe me, I can see that it would be mighty hard to live without them. However, after that sex movie they showed us, everyone here intends to wear gloves, even when they shake hands with a woman. I didn't make this up, okay? I'm not that clever. Herb is now a private Herb Rosencrantz. Dear Mom and Dad, quite a few things have happened here, so I'll start out by giving you all the news. I will go to clerical school at some college for 2 months, and at the end of that time, I get stationed either here or abroad. I would prefer to go into radio on the chance that I will get to fly in a bomber. I don't want to sit on my tail during this entire war. Oh, I'm dating regularly and having a darn good time. I managed to get a girl every weekend. The girls out here are very pretty, but my only wish is I find one named Cohen or a reasonable facsimile. Love her. Yes, the girls like this Jewish boy, but dear Mom always had a special place in Herb's heart, especially on Valentine's Day. This is where you may need the tissues. Locked in my heart is love deep and true, and a loyal affection that's only for you. And to prove that you're the one who's dearest to me, With Valentine greetings, I sent you the key. I know. Herb had a special way of signing this Valentine card. He said, a private admirer with love and kisses. Herb soon would transfer to an Army base in Clearwater, Florida, the Army Technical Training Command. April the 10th, 1943. Dear Mom and Dad, we have finally moved out here to Clearwater, where the situation has improved greatly. When we arrived here, the top sergeant gave us a big talk on keeping out of trouble. The Army is a place where you do what you're told or else. Men outnumber women in Clearwater 45-1, so I don't expect to have a date. So please send some good books. Love her. Oh, and thanks for the letters. I am well, have gained weight, I'm as tanned as a Florida debutante. Dear Mom and Dad, we are in a deserted part of Florida. Yesterday going to the barracks.
Catherine, you might want to show them a picture of her, this guy
Oh.
who's chasing the women.
Oh, yes.
He was very good looking. I told Bob that if I had been around, I would have chased her until he gave up. Because I think I'm about as, you know what, as Herb. Thanks for all the letters. I am well, have gained weight, and was tanned as a Florida debutante. Dear Mom and Dad, we are in a deserted part of Florida. Yesterday, going to the barracks, I saw a wild boar and some soldiers killed a copperhead and a rattlesnake. This is all part of the toughening up for what we have to face. The other night, the Baby Ruth Candy Company gave a camp show where they kept throwing candy at the audience. I sat in the front row and consumed untold numbers of bars. I will never eat another Baby Ruth as long as I live. And after August 31st, you can write to Corporal Rosencrantz. Dear Mom and Dad, here's the latest news. I passed the test. I passed with flying colors. Being only 19, I now go into advanced training. I think I have found a home in the Army. As I told you, I don't think I will get another pass before Christmas. I'd very much like to get home for your party. I have to march every night this week. No rest for the weary here. There is so much I have to tell you. All the letters seem inadequate. I'm looking forward to the day when I can sit back comfortably with my feet on the living room couch. Love Herb. But Herb always had time for fun. I went to a college dance Saturday night. There were hardly any Jewish girls on the campus. This is one place where a girl named Bunny would do a lot for the morale of soldiers. You'd be surprised at the persuasive powers of a khaki uniform. From generals down to privates, we're all wolves. Love Herb. There was a popular song that Herb would have known. It went, the same old sweethearts, the same old place, the boy in khakis, the girl in lace. He bends to kiss her, she lifts her face, the boy in khakis, the girl in lace. Dear Mom and Dad, yesterday I was in two parades for the 3rd Victory Loan. Our outfit received plenty of applause. Whenever we march in uniform, we always drop a hint by singing, I'm dreaming of a white Christmas. When will we ship out? Dreaming of a white Christmas. Herb, a nice Jewish boy, sings this holiday classic written by another nice Jewish boy, Irving Berlin. Irving Berlin served in the U.S. Army during World War I, or the Great War, the war to end all wars. Can you imagine a Christmas or an Easter without an Irving Berlin song? Can you? In fact, if there'd been no Jews, there'd be no Christmas, right? Irving Berlin also wrote the second national anthem, God Bless America. Many radio stations would not play God Bless America, and you know why? Written by a Jew. But when the great Kate Smith sang it, it was okay, the seal of approval. Herb learned quite a lot while stationed at the Technical Training School. Dear Mom and Dad, quite a few things have happened recently, so I'll start off by giving you all the news. I am to go to some college for 2 months, and at the end of that, I am to be stationed here or abroad. I don't want to sit on my tail during the entire war. Of course, I will study at the clerical school and then Army Communications. All in all, I've had a good time here in Clearwater, and I've made some mighty swell friends. One of my buddies here from Illinois University told me confidentially that he wished to compliment me because I was the first Jewish fellow who ever appealed to him. I felt complimented, but it brought back to my mind the old cry of a large number of repulsive Joes in our midst. We have our share down here. Fortunately, they're in the minority. Love Herb. The old hatred. Dear Mom and Dad, last night I saw an excellent picture which you shouldn't miss. It is called Mrs. Skeffington, starring Betty Davis. I think both of you would like it because it touches the Jewish question and portrays a character who is not unlike many people you may know. Let me know what you think of it. Love Herb. The Jewish question. The movie is about a woman, Betty Davis, who's looking for the perfect life, so she marries a Jewish banker. Is the Jewish question the Jewish banker? Don't know. Before the departure for his new base, Herb went to the movie theater, one of his favorite spots. Dear Mom and Dad, last night I saw a very good movie with Charles Lawton and Maureen O'Hara. It is called This Land Is Mine. I find movies seem more relaxing than sleep after a full day of work. This Land Is Mine is one of the numerous war movies produced by the U.S. government to promote unity and patriotism on the home front. Herb continues to chronicle his experiences. In a few days, I'm getting out to the pistol range. One soon learns in the Army that a 14-hour day, 7 days a week is easy. I don't mind this hardship. As a matter of fact, I find that I feel good. My sleep here is so sound that I doze off the minute I hit the pillow. I don't remember a thing till the bugler blows the hoot of the morning. This letter brought to my mind another Irving Berlin song. You know what it is? Oh, how I hate to get up in the morning. You know it? Oh, how I long to stay in bed. For the hardest blow of all is to hear the bugler call. You gotta get up, you gotta get up, you gotta get up this morning. Someday I'm going to murder the burglar. Someday they're going to find him dead. I'll amputate his reverie and step upon it heavily and and spend the rest of my life in bed. Of course, Irving Berlin did not spend the rest of his life in bed. But dear Mom and Dad, yesterday we were told that we wouldn't have any more passes because our unit has been alerted for shipment at an hour's notice. So we're stuck in Newark with no way out. Mom, before I close this letter, I want to congratulate you on your blood donation to the Red Cross. You being a working woman to boot deserve twice the praise. You got the right stuff, Mom. Mom, even as a little girl, wanted to be a dressmaker. Eva enrolled in the Manhattan Trade School. Eva loved the trade school. Girls from France, Russia, Germany, immigrants just like her. Dear Mom and Dad, what a collection of soldiers in my unit. For example, we have in my barracks alone an artist, a bartender from the Stork Club, an Annapolis washout, and a school teacher. Tomorrow will be the test to determine whether we go overseas as a division or as individual replacement. That means a lot to us because it is real tough to replace soldiers who have died in action. Now that I'm in the infantry, I don't give a good damn about anything but getting home in one piece and as short as time as possible. So I sit, pray for the end of the war, and look forward to the day when the kid is really grown up. Love her. Dear Mom and Dad, wait. When will Herb ship out? Where and when? Herb does something very special for his mother. Before he ships out, he sends her flowers. The flowers come with a card signed, "Still my best girl." Dear Mom and Dad, I'm writing this letter somewhere out at sea, destination unknown, mission likewise. I can't help but feel that our last family get-together was as it should be. I expected to see you again, but I reconcile my disappointment with the knowledge that our farewell was perfect. My farewell to the United States was equally fitting. As our transport sailed out of the New York harbor, a colorful sunset. I will never forget the sight. That cloud of clean whiteness against a darkened background seemed so symbolic of what we were fighting for. Going by the Statue of Liberty, some of the hardened, bitten infantrymen broke into a chorus of God Bless America. The chorus of God Bless America is certainly quite well known, but the refrain is not as well known, and I think it epitomizes what Herb is going through. While the storm clouds gather far across the sea, let us swear allegiance to a land that's free. Let us be grateful for a land so fair as we lift our voices in a solemn prayer. And then, God bless America. I can just see the skyline as those young soldiers are sailing out, going past the Statue of Liberty, a gift from America's oldest ally. Somewhere in France, dear Mom and Dad, as you can see from the letterhead, I'm in France. I'm one of the few men in my company who can speak French, and I've been able to work out some favorable deals. Last night I spent the most glorious 5 minutes in France. Some of us had the chance to take a warm shower. We came upon some of the war's unsung heroes, a Negro quartermaster detachment whose sole function is washing dirty soldiers. I really feel there's something to write home about. Next time you sing God Bless America, put in an extra loud chorus for me. It takes a trip like this to make a man appreciate the abundance of America. Love her. Dear Mom and Dad, we've had ample opportunity to walk around the countryside. The French are very friendly towards us and are quite willing to converse. Naturally, the big topic is the invasion and the rapid liberation of France. War has a reputation for making the poor poor, and that's just what happened to France. While the Germans were here, many people, especially children and old folks, died of starvation. My knowledge of French is doing big things for me. I've already made a few French friends. Love her. Dear Mom and Dad, yesterday I set an all-time record for eating and drinking. I befriended a madam who had just opened a cafe, and she promised to fix a dinner for me and 5 buddies. It turned out to be a Lulu. We had fresh spiced tomatoes, a full chicken course, potatoes, and then a repeat with duck, and finally 3 different French wines with coffee, plenty of bread, butter, sugar, and cream. We had wine, cognac, and beer. What a feast. We expected to have the Czech rock us, but it didn't. She only charged us 150 francs, $3 each. Love her. Those lovely French dinners brought back some bright spots to Herb and his buddies, but everywhere death and destruction. Herb was in the infantry, the boys who tramped through the mud, the grunts, the doughboy. Many years ago, a beautiful Sunday afternoon, I walked into my house and the phone was ringing. A friend called me with important news. He said, "It's just for you." He told me that a professor from Yale was speaking that very afternoon. You have to go. He's speaking about a film about World War II. It's right up your alley. So I hopped into my car and I headed for the library. Professor Alexander Nemiroff was discussing the movie Here to Eternity. Wow, what a small world. Donna Reed was in the movie, and like my mother, she saved all of her letters. And Mary Owen, her daughter, had become a good friend of mine. Through Alex, I learned of another Jewish soldier boy. Howard Nemiroff, Alex's father, graduated from Harvard in 1940 and joined the Royal Canadian Air Force and then the U.S. Army Air Corps. He flew combat missions over the North Atlantic. Lieutenant Nemiroff would return to the United States after the war. He taught at numerous colleges and around the country. He won the Pulitzer Prize amongst his many awards, and he was the Poet Laureate of the United States. I would like to read one of his poems. The War in the Sky. For a saving grace, we didn't see our dead, who rarely bothered coming home to die, but simply stayed away out there in the clean air, the war in the sky. Herb's war was dirty. The grunts waged war on the ground and the fields. Dear Mom and Dad, I long for the end of this war more all the time. I don't keep count of the days, they just seem to go by. My only bright moments are when I receive letters from home. I've long since passed the point where discomfort annoys me. Whenever I have time to think, which is seldom, I feel pride in the history job we are making. Each 24 hours brings me closer to the day when I can say goodbye to Europe. I try to contain myself from being over-optimistic because I know that there are bitter days ahead for us doughboys. I also do quite a lot of praying. Love, Herb. A few years ago, I went to a World War II event in Pennsylvania, and I met another Jewish boy. His name was David Wisnia, and he was from Poland. And he had returned to his village to discover his home in ruins and the bodies of his parents and his brother in a pile, along with the bodies of Jewish neighbors. David ran from the village. He escaped and was captured and sent to Auschwitz. He escaped Auschwitz and somehow managed to hook up with the 101st Airborne, another Jewish soldier boy. Not all Germans marched with the Fuhrer. One German boy was Austrian. Hanford came into my life through his daughter, Deborah LeBerge. She lent me some of his letters. He hated what the Nazis had done. December the 8th, 1941. Dear Mama, we're at war with Japan. The development, although feared and expected for a long time, nevertheless came as a shock. I do not know how to take the news. They eased the tensions that we have lived under, but at war's end, this country will be poor. It is possible we shall perish during that war, but it's also possible we shall survive and that we shall then be able to build a new world from the ashes of the old. I am glad to be in the United States. I shall gladly defend her and if necessary, give my life. I am glad to be in the Army since this offers me the opportunity to become part of this country and to participate in America's efforts to win the war. If, as a consequence of discrimination against people on a German passport, Francis should lose his job, tell him not to take it tragically. I know that the outbreak of war, people sometimes make stupidities. Thumbs up, Hanford. Many years ago, I was visiting the American Cemetery in Couvres-sur-Mer in Normandy, and I was really first overwhelmed by the sheer number of graves. And then as I walked along the rows of graves, many of them were German, American soldiers. Names like Mueller, Schwartz. The Supreme Allied Commander was a German-American named Dwight David Eisenhower. One day a friend told me that his father was a soldier during World War II and served as a guard of German soldiers. And one German soldier looked at the German name embossed on this American soldier's uniform, and he said, "Hey, you're one of us," the German children. His response was, "No, I am not." Dear Mom and Dad, Mom, your picture arrived in the mail today. It is beautiful. The boys keep asking me if you're my girl, and I puff up my chest and tell them to read the description. To my dear son, the joy of my life. No one believes me. You look super wonderful, Mom. You are still my best girl. Dad, you sure picked a winner. Mom, you will be traveling with me while I'm in combat, somewhere in Belgium. Dear Mom and Dad, now that I'm out of France, I can tell you quite a bit about the places I've seen since arriving in Europe. I can also tell you about our trip to Belgium and the appreciative reception we received from the people. While in Normandy, I saw many of the cities which were made famous by the early American drive, Montbourg, Saint-Lô. I've seen the terrible destruction wrought by our attacks and have had a first-hand opportunity to look over Nazi defenses. There is still danger from mines and booby traps. The Jerry is notorious for leaving explosive attached to anything. Dear Mom and Dad, our trip to Belgium was a nightmare. 33 men with duffel bags and equipment in a boxcar, 8 feet by 40 feet. We arrived in Belgium tired and mighty low in spirit, but we received a wonderful reception. The people cheered us as we drove through the streets. They are appreciative of our work in getting rid of the international pest. I can't say much more except I miss home and live for the day when I can see you and family again. Just picture Herb and his comrades driving through those Belgian villages. By November, Herb was marching into Germany, somewhere in Germany. Dear Mom and Dad, as you can see by the letterhead, the Army is giving us a chance to really see Europe. I'm doing my best and praying for an early victory. Mail is the biggest thing in my life, and I thank you for your generosity in writing so often. Well, that's all from this G.I. Joe for a while. Loved you all, Herb. Dear Mom and Dad, today is Thanksgiving Day, and we are celebrating in grand style. All of us received so many long-awaited packages that we don't know where to begin. Then tonight we are going to have a turkey dinner, especially notable since it's the first meal in over a week. Love, Herb. Holidays were especially important to Herb and all the G.I. Joes. This nice Jewish boy loved Christmas. Dear Mom and Dad, with only 7 more shopping days to Christmas, I find myself a long ways from where I'd like to be at this time. Needless to say, you all have my best wishes for a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Christmas packages are coming in all the time, and we are getting plenty of cigarettes, gum, and candy. We also get quite a lot of hot chow these days. I even get a chance to wash at least once a week. Love, her. Dear Mom and Dad, it's December 23rd, and with Christmas so close at hand, everyone is making some effort to reproduce the spirit of the holiday on the home front. There is an occasional Christmas carol to be heard. We're so American and so homesick that it almost hurts to watch the feeble efforts we're making to being us a little closer to home. Victory is within our grasp, and I feel confident that we'll soon be celebrating the day we'll be living for. Your fighting doughboy. We're also American. Herb was indeed that American boy. There's a common thread that runs through the letters of all the American boys, all the letters I've read. Home. In one letter Uncle Bill wrote to my mother, he was very clear what he wanted for Christmas. I want to be home. Love, Bill. The song I'll Be Home for Christmas was very popular, both on the home front and the battlefield. 1944 is drawing to a close, and the brutal winter of December 1944, the last hurrah of the Nazis. December the 28th, 1944. I guess the recent news from the Western Front has caused you a great deal of anxiety. Well, it has me too. Yet despite our new problems, I take it as a good sign. For the first time since fighting the Jerry, I can see the end of the war close at hand. General Ike once described our job as one similar to pushing a heavy wagon up a hill in a blinding fog. It's rough, backbreaking work, but suddenly, at an unpredictable time, the top of the hill is reached. The wagon goes crashing down the other side. I have that home stretch feeling. The top of the hill is not far off. We should get down on our knees and thank God every day for being an American. I fight now to come home. I fight to deserve to come home. May God grant me that privilege. When you open up that champagne bottle this New Year's Eve, look at each other and say, for Herb and for victory, you know I'll be sitting there right beside you, your loving son, Herb. The Battle of the Bulge, certainly one of the bloodiest in the war, and 2 of my uncles were in the Battle of the Bulge. Dear Mom and Dad, as you know from reports, the Jerry has finally committed his reserves. Naturally, this puts a great strain on us. Yes, I have never before been so optimistic. The present Jerry drive is one of desperation, more desperate than its initial success would indicate. Victory is at last in sight. Herb wrote to Dear Mom and Dad the last day of 1944. Dear Mom and Dad, the new year found me on guard looking across the enemy lines. The boom of our artillery or the slap of a mortar shell sounded to remind me that I was in Germany fighting a war. My mind was far away, somewhere in the location of 7 Willow Road. I thought of lively drinking parties, dancing and eating. I thought of driving around Hewlett Bay Park with some pretty girl by my side. Old memories flashed before me and quickly faded when I realized how futile it was to recreate the past. I had greeted the new year in a reeking barn, standing on a pile of cow dung. Excuse my flair for the dramatic, but I've long since developed the philosophy that a man has really reached a low ebb when he can't find humor in his own misery. Facing reality, I estimate that I'm starting this new year out somewhere near the bottom of the wave. Circumstances look right for a high tide this year. I have hopes of riding the crest before it ends. I offer you and the family the same hope for a Happy New Year. May we all be together in 1945. I have read a lot of letters, and they always move me. And one is from a soldier boy, a friend named Bob Wiley. His father, Sterling, was a colonel in the Army, and they rendezvoused on the battlefield. Christmas 1944. Darling, it is the beginning of the end for the Germans. How long, who knows? War is hell. Life and death mean so little, yet so much. Nothing must be permitted to stop the war except the annihilation of the dirty bastards. Then and only then can we get down to the business of peace. Think victory, work for victory. May this Christmas be the happiest one for all, but the least happiest of any for the years and years to come. You know the simple word home means so much to this soldier boy. All my love, Sterling. Colonel Wiley and Bob would meet on the battlefield of the war, father and son together. Darling, you have some son. Your son and mine is well, healthy, fine. Bob has finished combat flying in Europe. I feel not too distant future we'll all be home. And once again, we can be the odd collection of humans. Bob is crazy about you, almost as much as I am. I give thanks for keeping him safe, for seeing him through this hard time. I thank God for such a son. And if it be true that the success of a man is in the raising of a son better than the father, then indeed I am a success. All my love, Sterling. I can assure you personally that Sterling was successful. Like Sterling, Alvin Rosencrantz served in the Great War, the war to end all wars. And Eva and Alvin married after he came back from the war. Dear Mom and Dad, Germany, another note to let you know that I am well and that everything is coming along fine. The big topic of our day here is the terrific Russian drive. It is very encouraging. I've been especially optimistic ever since the Jerrys launched their Bulge drive. That was the beginning of the end. However, I still see difficult days ahead for us doughboys. We catch hell until the order to cease fire comes down. Love, Herb. Dear Mom and Dad, for the first time in several months, the days seem to be flying by. I'm glad because I know that each 24 hours brings me closer to the day when I can say goodbye to Europe. I try to contain myself from being over-optimistic because I also know that there are still bitter days ahead for us doughboys. We're in this war 100% until the final shot is fired. Keep the letters rolling. Love, Herb. Amongst Herb's letters home was one that brought an emotion that I cannot describe. Dear Mr. and Mrs. Rosencrantz, this is one of the many letters you have received from Herb's friends. I cannot begin to tell you how I felt since I heard the terrible news when I came home from college. I have known Herb since I was 15, and it seems that with each passing year I had come to appreciate his fineness and high ideals. He spoke to me of you and Bob and home so often. He loved you all so much. When we were together in New York, I saw why he thought of you as he did. Because of you. Herb is such a wonderful boy. I can truthfully say that Herb was 1 in a million. Herb would not be coming home. He was killed in Auschwitz, Germany, February the 25th, 1945. Herb was awarded the Silver Star. This brave young man led his squad in combat and encountered a large force of enemy troops. He exposed himself to heavy fire in order to locate the enemy and save his comrades. Herb is buried at the American Cemetery in Belgium, Henri-Chapelle. The Belgians adopt the graves of the American soldiers, and I wonder who has adopted Herb. I knew that Herb had been killed in the war before I read this letter, but still, an emotion came over me, and it still does, because I loved Herb so dearly, and I think you probably all love him too. Herb's last letter to dear Mom and Dad was written February the 17th. Is there a lesson for all Americans? February the 17th, Germany. Dear Mom and Dad, finding common ground with unusual people is one of the democratic benefits of this war. I've had to learn to live with former cops, cowboys, dope peddlers, grocery clerks, professional thieves, diplomats' sons. Finding common ground. When I first read Herb's letter to dear Mom and Dad, my mind wandered to the battlefield. I could see Herb writing a letter in a ditch covered in mud. The war in Europe ended May 8th, 1940, VE Day. Germany is now one of this country's closest allies. Can we find common ground? Remember the lapel pin? Have you ever seen this on a Jewish boy? I would like to answer that man who sent that to my mother some years ago. Yes, sir. I've seen the poppy pin on many Jewish boys. Thank you. Wasn't he a gem? As I was saying before, there's this perception that Jews have not served in the American military. And that's not me speaking, that's the Museum of American Jewish Military History in Washington, D.C., where we did a Dear Herb program several years ago. And actually Bob Rosencrantz's grandson participated in it. And it's just not true. And, here I am, the direct descendant of a Jewish Revolutionary War soldier. I didn't know it, but he was a Jewish Revolutionary War soldier. And the Rosencrantz family, Bob Rosencrantz, as I've told my friends, was so modest. He was the founder of C-SPAN, major donor to Columbia University, and so modest about his achievements. If you look him up, Robert Rosencrantz, there's a Wikipedia page on him, there's this page, there's that page, there's this page, there's that page. When he died in 2016, the memorial service was at a chapel at Columbia University. The president of Columbia University spoke, as did the president of C-SPAN, and some other of Bob's golfing buddies. But I feel so honored and so privileged to have known Bob and to basically become a part of his family through Herb's letters. So thank you for attending, and if you've got any questions or any thoughts you'd like to share, please.
Catherine, do you know what division he was in?
No, I don't. I can find out.
But
I think it was in the, could it have been the Signal Corps?
well, the Signal Corps, he would have been in a division. I would think, although, he started out in communications.
Yeah.
Training. So,
Yeah.
Maybe he was attached to the division.
I can find out, Fritz, and let you know, because I've got the letters. Well, I gave them back to Bob, of course, and I don't know, dear Bob died, as I told you, in 2016. I hope they'll donate them to Army Heritage. He was, didn't you all love Herb?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
To follow up on that, being a military historian, do you have the envelopes also with the letter?
My letters, mostly I do. I don't have Herb's letters, Herb's envelopes.
The reason I ask is that it was common for the soldiers during the war in the upper left to put who they were and then an abbreviation of their unit oftentimes, and it would be regiment or
Oh.
division, so it might be on the envelope, I just didn't know.
Well, the letters that I have from my mother, by and large, I have the envelopes. And with, you know, with the stamps, and sometimes it says censored. And, but I didn't keep any of the letters, I mean, any of the envelopes, or make copies of the envelopes for Herb. I can follow up with, I'm still in touch with the Rosencrantz family. And I could follow up with them to find out, but also Herb, Bob, his younger brother, served in World War II, and he was going to go to Dartmouth, but when Herb was killed, he felt he was released from the Army because of Herb's death, and he decided to go to Columbia University to be closer to the dear mom and dad. And he was just an incredible man.
Catherine, he was in the 415th Infantry Regiment,
Oh.
104th Infantry Division.
Oh, where'd you find that, Mickey? That's my husband.
The internet, where else?
It was in the New York Times, I was looking it up too.
Oh.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, but you know, we're facing another period of anti-Semitism, which is, you know, when's it gonna end? I don't know. Yes, sir.
During your talk, you mentioned the Polish soldier or acquaintance who went back to his home and found the body of his family.
Yeah.
In any of Herb's letters, as he was working his way across France and into Germany, did he indicate any knowledge that the Army was learning about the camps and the horrible things that were being done?
None of the letters that I had from Herb. I did know this lovely man, a Jew from Connecticut, and he was in the U.S. Army, and he was a liberator of Dachau. And I'll never forget, he told me that they were told under no circumstances to give any food or water to any of the survivors because it would kill them. And he just, I mean, you could imagine the horror, what he saw. And David Wisnia, the Polish soldier, can you imagine going home, seeing the bodies of your parents and your brother and your neighbors stacked up? He escapes Auschwitz and joins the U.S. Air Force, the U.S. Army, the 101st. Can you imagine? I mean, I can't. I can't fathom. But he did. And Herb sacrificed his life to save his comrades. Yeah.
My father told me that he was present during the liberation of one of the,
I'm sorry, your father was,
he was present during the liberation of one of the camps.
uh-huh.
But he said nobody believed him when he came back.
Really? Why?
They just couldn't imagine that something like that could happen.
Hmm.
They thought he was just making it up.
Yeah, no, I haven't been to any of the camps. I would like to do that. It's, you know, it's too horrible for words. He died recently. I knew this lovely, lovely man, a French Jew, who was hidden by Goys, otherwise known as Gentiles. And I always laugh and tell people that, you know, I'm not 100% Shiksa. I'm genetically Jewish, and just the horror. I mean, I just never forget. His name was Ben Cooper, telling me about that. And they wanted to shoot the Germans who were in that camp, and they couldn't. And they couldn't. I have a friend in Memphis whose mother was in 3 different concentration camps. Auschwitz was one of them. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to describe. So I'm not surprised that no one believed it. But also it was interesting, I learned some years ago that Hitler's nephew served in the US Navy, which is truth is stranger than fiction, right? Yeah. He was born Hitler. He was Hitler's half nephew, but he didn't keep the Hitler name for obvious reasons. He took his mother's name. I think she was Irish.
My understanding is that all the relatives of Hitler decided not having children.
All the what? I'm sorry?
All the relatives of Hitler decided not having children.
Oh, really? No, I hadn't heard that. Do you know why?
They didn't want to carry on the Hitler genes.
That's interesting. No, I hadn't heard that, but I guess that wouldn't surprise me.
Where did you say Herb was buried?
Henri Chapelle in Belgium. And we had been to the memorial services at Henri Chapelle and Couvray-sur-Mer. And I'll never forget at Henri Chapelle, and this is before I knew that Herb was buried there. And I went by and there was this man who's hugging a grave, in the gravestone, crying, and I just put my arm around him and I just said, I'm so sorry. He didn't know this American soldier. His family had adopted him, and they honored every holiday. So he's crying over this American soldier's grave, whom he has adopted. And what do we do in this country on Memorial Day? Have a mattress sale? Go to the American cemeteries in Europe on Memorial Day. It's something you'll never forget. Anybody have any comments?
That's great.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. If you haven't, I'd appreciate it if you would leave your name and your email address so we can keep you updated. We've got 2 more programs on our schedule. The next one is May 17th. Moss Blackman will be talking about his work in Air Force intelligence in Vietnam. And we've got one more after that, and we haven't scheduled any more yet because we don't know when this place is going to be available because the construction is going to shut down the museum for several months. So when we know more, we'll let people know by email, so be sure to leave a contact. Thank you very much.
Thank you.